world is still warming. Global emissions still rising. People are demanding action.
For the first time ever, the UN climate talks were held in the Amazon.
Dozens of indigenous protesters blocked an entrance to the United Nations Climate Conference in Brazil Friday morning.
The rainforest and its inhabitants were at the center of it all. But so was the host nation's greatest contradiction.
Brazil, over the last 40 years, have transformed itself into the supermarket of the world.
Brazil has built one of the most powerful agricultural economies on earth. Soybean, beef, corn, all of it depends on clearing land.
The amount of tropical rainforest lost last year is down by a third.
Yet, Brazil is also being celebrated as a conservation success story, with forest loss dropping 41% in 2025 alone. So can both things be true? The demand for these commodities hasn't gone anywhere, and neither have the people who profit from them. Now, with stricter law enforcement at home, Brazilian producers appear to be on the move. It's our first day in Santa Cruz de la Sierra, which is Bolivia's economic powerhouse, but also the epicenter of its deforestation. I'm Fabiano Maisonave. Having spent my career reporting on the Amazon, I've come here to ask a simple question. When one country cracks down on deforestation, where does that pressure go? Brazil champions land sparing as the solution. It's a strategy that promotes maximizing production on existing farmland to prevent clearing new forests. But head toward the border here, and a different reality emerges. Brazil's agricultural heartland is spilling directly into San Ignacio de Velasco, Bolivia's newest hotspot for forest loss, leading critics to argue land sparing did not eliminate deforestation, but simply moved it.
Hola, Saúl, buen día. Y si posible, que usted nos enseñe el mapa de la deforestación que mencionó la semana pasada.
And the stakes are high. The Amazon, the world's largest rainforest, dictates the global climate. Its downfall would be catastrophic. We're heading to a local NGO mapping landscape changes to understand the reality on the ground.
A partir del año 86 sí tenemos los datos de deforestación de manera anual, ¿no? Vemos cómo ha ido la deforestación incrementándose en el tiempo y en los últimos años se ha disparado bastante, ¿no?
¿Y dónde está concentrada la deforestación en Bolivia? ¿En qué departamento?
El 78% de la deforestación ocurre en Santa Cruz de la Sierra, ¿no? Entonces vemos que toda la deforestación se está yendo ya hacia San Ignacio, que va hacia Brasil. Aquí, San Ignacio y Velasco. Entonces podemos ver cómo ha ido incrementándose. Estos colores que están de lila, rojo oscuro, son la deforestación reciente, ¿no?
155.000 hectáreas. Eso corresponde exactamente al tamaño del municipio de São Paulo.
¿Sí?
Sí, es ese tamaño.
Es grande, ¿no?
Es impresionante, ¿no? Para 2 años. Una São Paulo.
San Ignacio de Velasco is the ancestral homeland of the Chiquitanos, Bolivia's indigenous people. But the region is changing fast, shifting from subsistence farming to large-scale industrial agriculture, endangering local traditions and the ecosystem. And the pressure is building. A new administration plans to dramatically expand the country's agricultural output.
Bolivia is poised for a major political shift after centrist Rodrigo Paz won the country's presidential runoff, ending nearly 2 decades of leftist rule.
También dijimos capitalismo para todos, un capitalismo para producir, un capitalismo para tener recursos. Vamos a superar ese pasado de desgracia y de indignidad que se ha generado para todos los bolivianos.
Our next destination is San Ignacio de Velasco, which is the city that concentrates most of deforestation in Bolivia. This is an area where there's a significant presence of Brazilian farmers. The data on foreign investment in land in Bolivia is a sensitive issue. The Bolivian constitution, they are very restrictive about foreigners owning land in Bolivia.
Mañana nos quedamos en San Ignacio y nos gustaría mucho su ayuda.
It's been a challenge to find Brazilian groups who are willing to talk to us. So far, we haven't received a yes. I'm hoping that once we are on the ground in San Ignacio, we'll be able to meet some of them.
Estamos con la historia de entender la ocupación de San Ignacio y nos gustaría mucho conocer a esos productores. The road to San Ignacio passes through land already remade by soybeans. This crop is Bolivia's top agricultural export and leading driver of deforestation. 3/4 of it goes straight to animal feed. We are in the Amazon basin, but the native landscape is almost unrecognizable. It makes me wonder, what lies ahead for the untouched wilderness of Bolivia? We came to investigate the reality of land sparing, but we've recently learned about a closed-door meeting in San Ignacio between Brazilian producers and ministers from both countries. The discussions were confidential, but it's fair to say what was agreed could have serious consequences for the environment. My contact is helping us track down people who may have attended the meeting.
Enseguida le voy a pasar el número de teléfono de la administradora de Rancho Dorado, donde se llevó a cabo esa reunión.
Okay, so she just sent us the contact of the manager of the farm where there was a meeting between the Brazilian Minister of Agriculture and 2 Bolivian ministers. We're trying to find out what they discussed.
También te paso este dato. Mira este video, yo vi de donde.
So this meeting is important for us because the deforestation here, which is rampant and it's the largest among Bolivian municipalities, has been spearheaded by Brazilian ranchers. We want to know what are the demands of the Brazilian minister, how many Brazilian farmers took part of this meeting, and to understand what can happen in the region in terms of deforestation and agriculture expansion. We arrived this afternoon in San Ignacio, which is a lovely town. It's a beautiful architecture. We really feel that the Brazilian influence. We see Brazilian stores, we see Brazilian flags. It's really a big presence here.
Felicidades, explorador.
To understand the landscape before the arrival of agribusiness, we're visiting a local family.
Yo hice la primera estancia ecológica de toda esta zona en el año 1972.
They have championed sustainable farming for decades
Ya vamos a llegar al camino.
and observed the land's transformation firsthand.
Aquí nomás.
Cacarachi.
Seguimos las líneas agroecológicas, ¿no? Y trabajar con las líneas agroecológicas significa seguir las líneas que va la naturaleza. no hemos entrado con maquinaria a tumbar.
Esta es aloe vera. El ganado venía a mi mano a comer sal. Manso.
De todo,
Entonces, en total, ¿cuánto está preservado?
Todo está preservado.
Todo está preservado.
Todo está preservado. Mira, prueba, miel. No desarrollamos nada de lo que tenían nuestros biomas. En Brasil ha sido devastado. Devastado. Fue el bioma intervenido para ganadería, para agricultura. Entonces, ¿a un costo de qué? ¿De dónde viene la soya? La soya viene del Asia.
Y esta llegada de la soya que lleva no muchos años, ¿no? Aquí a la región, ¿eso ocurre con el apoyo del gobierno?
Porque las leyes se endurecieron en Brasil, dieron los créditos, vinieron a Bolivia a comprar tierra y producir tierra. Aquí hay empresas concesionarias de 500, 600 personas que le dan su plata a un tipo que compra propiedades, produce, vende la soya y les llega su porcentaje de plata a esa gente. Están ganando en centavos.
¿Usted ve qué relación hay entre el endurecimiento de la ley en Brasil y la llegada de los brasileños a Bolivia?
Oportunidad de precio de la tierra.
Hay grupos que están viendo qué invertir, ¿no? Si yo le meto las 4.000 hectáreas de soya, soy más millonario. Ya soy rico, porque tenemos un ambiente que puede ser, ¿ah? ¿O qué es lo que querés?
Brasil, el gobierno brasileño, y mucha gente habla, incluso aquí en Bolivia, de que si uno autoriza el transgénico, aumentará la producción en el mismo área, y aumentando la producción en una área que ya está abierta, que ya está deforestada, no habrá necesidad de seguir deforestando.
No creo eso. El transgénico es el último grito de una ignorancia fatal, porque el transgénico es nada más una fórmula química y el problema es que lo desgastaste fue el suelo. Y de ahí entrar al círculo vicioso, porque degradas el suelo 5 o 6 años y de ahí tienes que comprar otra propiedad para de nuevo deforestar. Bueno, hay gente que ha extorsionado el mercantilismo de la tierra. Lo peor es que conocemos, lo sabemos y seguimos en el error.
To most people, the Amazon is a vast green expanse on a map, slowly turning red from deforestation. But in reality, there are many shades of green within it. Science has identified roughly 16,000 tree species here, with many more still undiscovered. And each region has its own unique flora and fauna. Any loss here isn't just a loss of trees. It's a destruction of biodiversity before it's even been documented.
Era a imagem.
After leaving the farm, I finally made contact with someone who works at Rancho Dourado, the Brazilian-owned property that hosted the ministerial talks.
Nós, do Mato Grosso, o ministro da Agricultura foi governador, vice-governador, ministro, senador, e ele, a ProSoja, ele conhece de infraestrutura. Então ele fez uma marcada.
I just learned Erai Magi Sheffer, one of the world's largest soybean producers, attended the meeting.
Confesso a vocês, eu estive com o Rodrigo quase 2 horas.
He said that he had a meeting with the new Bolivian president for 2 hours, and he thinks that Bolivia is a new era. And he's planning to invest in Bolivia, in this region. And to do that, they are pushing for a new highway that would connect Brazil with Bolivia. In the Amazon, over 90% of deforestation takes place along highways. So this is good news probably for the soybean producers, but this is probably bad news for environmental protection.
The scale of Maji's ambitions here surprises me. If true, the Brazilian billionaire's investment could have major consequences for Bolivia's Amazon region. Tomorrow, we're going to Rancho Dorado to see it for ourselves.
Sejam bem-vindos.
Obrigado. Aqui que foi a reunião, já estou reconhecendo.
Isso, aqui que foi.
So this is where the meeting took place. The Brazilian minister was here 2 weeks ago with soybean producers.
A gente agora está aqui na fazenda Rancho Dourado. Ela produz soja, milho e gado, ganaderia. Nós estamos aqui já há 20 anos nessa fazenda. Então, inicialmente, quem que estava há 20 anos atrás aqui nessa região que chegou, né, era só gado, era só pecuária. Agora, nesses últimos, já está entrando mais forte a agricultura. Agora que estão vindo muitas pessoas brasileiras, vamos falar parceiros brasileiros, para fazer investimento aqui na Bolívia. E hoje, esse 2025-26, pior, explodiu. Explodiu nessa região aqui, o que é soja e milho.
O ano passado aqui eu colhi 6 toneladas por hectare. Esse ano eu acredito que ela está melhor.
Isso aqui são as bainas, né?
É.
Qual que é a vantagem que os brasileiros vêm para vir para a Bolívia? Para plantar soja, para ter fazenda?
O preço da terra mais barato, né? E a fertilidade muito boa. O Brasil não é mais campo, né?
O seu plano é continuar na Bolívia mesmo? Você está feliz aqui?
Eu tô. Eu não tenho previsão de voltar, não.
Não?
Não.
Intensifying production on farms like this is exactly what land sparing promotes. But it also exposes a core tension. What happens to the profits? Companies bolstered with higher returns look for new places to invest. And for Brazilian farmers seeking fertile land and favorable policies, Bolivia is looking increasingly attractive.
Eu lá atrás, eu tinha trabalhado na mesma empresa lá no Brasil, né? Aí eu estava trabalhando no lugar, a empresa apareceu lá, me convidando para vir aqui conhecer, né? Eu vim. Ela, me vejo aqui no país. Já há 9 anos eu não me vejo voltando de volta pro Brasil, não. Quer ir lá tentar?
Vamos lá tentar.
Rancho Dorado is impressive.
Aqui. Estamos ampliando, né, para ficar um pouco maior.
With 210 employees living on site.
Aqui é a ampliação das oficinas. Tem 3 salas, mais uma sala é só de treinamentos, que a gente... Aí temos uma casa-hotel para recepcionar as pessoas que chegam de fora também. Aqui é a nossa escola.
A private school with 60 students.
Biblioteca e uma salinha do médico.
And significant plans for expansion. It offers an insight into what Brazilian investment could look like here. Visiting Rancho Dorado, I'm reminded of the industrial-scale agriculture I've seen in Brazil's Mato Grosso. Maggi and his family built their fortune, helping turn that part of the Amazon into an agricultural superpower, which came at the cost of some of Brazil's highest deforestation rates. Which leaves me asking, could San Ignacio be next? A news report offers a possible answer. Bom Futuro, Maggi's agribusiness empire, has allegedly placed a deposit on a nearby, pristine 30,000-hectare forested plot. An investment of this size tends to attract others. We reached out to the company to see if they would discuss the report.
Margem, no? Sim. I've been talking to Bom Futuro, and that was kind of weird. The guy said, well, first, Erai has nothing to do with Bolivia. And then I said, well, I know that he's been in San Ignacio, and also that there are press reports that he is trying to buy 30,000 hectares in Chiquitania. And then he answered me saying, Bom Futuro didn't buy anything, but a partner of Bom Futuro might have bought something in Bolivia. And then I said, well, was it Irai? And then he said, well, I'll get back to you. And so far, nothing.
It's Sunday morning in San Ignacio, and we're meeting with the Cabildo. The indigenous group that was originally the region's governing body. I want to understand how industrial agriculture is impacting their ancestral land and centuries-old traditions.
Mi nombre es Fabiano Maisonave, así que me gustaría hablar con ustedes acerca de lo que está pasando en la región ancestral de ustedes, ¿no? que dan el nombre a la región. Para eso vinimos, para entender lo que está pasando y hablar con ustedes acerca de los cambios tan rápidos de los últimos años.
Hasta allá ya estamos más viejitos cuando llegue. ¿Verdad? Después ya se nos aproximó la fiesta del carnaval, que todo el mundo se alegra. De ahí ahorita como...
I spoke to the cacique general, Antonio,
Eso sería todo.
which means like he's the general chief of the Chiquitanos. And I asked him about the changes in the region.
Y el brasilero, él llega acá a trabajar porque tiene plata. Él tiene plata y hace su inmenso. Por una parte, pero por otra parte es mal porque la fauna se pierde. Los ríos se pierden también. Más antes el guapomó que decíamos nosotros. Si de ahí tomábamos agua, lavábamos ropa. Y ahora, muchos estudios ya dicen que el agua está contaminada. Con eso nosotros nos mantenemos, porque el agua es lo que nos da vida.
Antonio, he said that he's very pleased that there are work for the Chiquitanos, but at the same time, he's also worried that the communities are losing their territory. So these big farms, they are grabbing land, and they're having conflicts with some Chiquitano communities over territory. It's a mixed feeling that he has about the region. So this is our last day in San Ignacio. The flight tomorrow will give us a better idea of the exact location of this 30,000 hectare property that Erai Magi from the Bom Futuro group wants to acquire here. Erai Magi is dubbed the king of soybean, and he's a key person to understand what might happen in the region in the coming future.
So we just took off from San Ignacio de Velasco. From above, it's really amazing how much agriculture and soybean has advanced in this area that only 20 years ago was just the rainforest. San Ignacio de Velasco is roughly the size of Denmark. There's a lot of deforestation already, and there's more coming. One of our reasons for the flight is to find this property that the Maggi family is trying to purchase here in Bolivia. It's a 30,000 hectare property, which is a very huge area. And the satellite image shows that this is the last remaining block of forest in that area. So we want to fly over and check from the airplane how it looks. Right now we're flying along the Brazilian-Bolivian border. In the airplane screen, we can see the invisible line that divides Bolivia and Brazil at this point. In the right side, Brazil, we can see that the forest is gone, probably to pasture. On the left side, lush green, this is Noel Camp Mercado National Park. It's really beautiful. This line drawn by humans completely changed the fate of the forest in this area. Noel Camp Mercado National Park is by far the largest preserved area in this region of the Amazon, where the soybean and cattle is encroaching. So we're flying over this area that belongs to INPA, which is a Dutch-Bolivian company that uses the area for managing logging. So you can see that the forest is mostly preserved. This area is the size of 5 Manhattans. Maggi, which is dubbed the king of soybean, wants to buy this land. So what he wants to do here most likely is to convert 5 Manhattans of rainforest into 5 Manhattans of soybean.
So we just landed in La Paz, which is the world's highest capital. Santa Cruz is the economic powerhouse of Bolivia, and this is the political capital.
Usted vive en el auto. We're on our way to meet Stasiak Sapliki, the local journalist who first reported on Maggi's acquisition of the INPA estate we flew over yesterday. I'm hoping he can tell us more about this alleged deal and the legality of foreign land ownership at this scale.
The INPA property is a green forest of 30,000 hectares, which has been standing there for thousands of years. It is a place for different type of species to come and also for the ecosystem to continue working, because with deforestation you have more droughts, therefore more forest fires around there. The owner has been looking to sell that property. If soy producers deforest that land illegally, it would cost them up to $1 million, and that piece of land is worth a bit more than $20 million US. So it's an administrative cost. It's not a disincentive to do those illegal things.
Can you explain this rule about foreigners owning or not land in Bolivia? How does it work?
You can only have up to 5,000 hectares, unless you were already owner of that land before the new constitution. And to avoid the law that says that foreigners cannot own land in Bolivia, what they do is that they buy that land through a company. It's not them buying that land, it's the company buying that land. Bolivia is becoming the Wild West of all this region, where you have a lot of land trafficking. You have actors from Brazil, a bit like cowboys without law. And now you have policymakers from Brazil joining hands with policymakers from Bolivia and talking together about investing to deforest for more in Bolivia. Now, our Minister of Environment used to be the head of ANAPO, which is the organization of soybean producers. This is the recipe for the perfect disaster.
Brazil's interest in San Ignacio is becoming clear, but I want to know, what does Bolivia's government make of all this?
Hola, buen día. Yo sé que el ministro Justiniano está en Brasil hoy, ¿verdad? O ayer, o estuvo ayer.
The problem is, most of them are in Brazil right now, ahead of a bilateral meeting on the very cross-border investment we're looking into.
Muchas gracias.
There's one official in particular I want to speak to, Fernando Romero Pinto. He's Bolivia's new Minister of Development Planning, which now oversees environmental policy, after President Rodrigo Paz dissolved the Ministry of Environment. His resume? Over 25 years as a prominent leader in the soy industry.
Es nuestro corresponsal en Bolivia. Yo me quedo en São Paulo, pero él está aquí todos los días. Hay críticas que usted vino del sector de la soya, usted es un productor de soya, que sería un zorro con el gallinero, que había un conflicto de interés.
Conozco el sector, conozco lo que hay que hacer. Entonces, yo creo que más allá de lo que la gente pueda pensar, mi visión personal, y creo que es también una visión que compartimos con el gobierno, es buscar el diálogo, buscar la verdad por sobre todo, y la confianza verificable. Bolivia, en términos productivos, es de los países con menos productividad. Justamente es una zona que puede rendir, hay que hacerlo bien, hay que mitigar los impactos ambientales, pero no podemos negarnos esa oportunidad como país.
La empresa, el Grupo Bonfuturo, está negociando, quizás ya haya comprado ese predio de INPA. ¿Cuál es el proyecto que presentó Maggi?
Para nosotros es una gran noticia. Son los productores más grandes del mundo de soya. Es muy importante porque ese interés va a atraer a otros inversionistas. No solo brasileros, pueden ser de la región o pueden ser de otras partes del mundo. Vamos a ir al Brasil para ponernos de acuerdo, para buscar equilibrios, para buscar negocios, para buscar desarrollo para ambas regiões.
O presidente Lula convidou novo líder da Bolívia, Rodrigo Paz Pereira, para uma visita ao Brasil. Essa reunião bilateral trate sobre o tema da integração entre os dois países, principalmente em áreas como fertilizantes, agronegócio, indústria e infraestrutura.
Things are moving fast. There will be a presidential meeting in the next 2 weeks. It's really an ongoing story. We're seeing this old cycle of the Amazon, that people from outside arrive in the region, the government builds roads, newcomers buy land, there is local resistance, there is this trade-off of opening new jobs, but also rampant deforestation. This is a cycle that we've seen on and on in the Amazon, and this is the time for San Ignacio. They said that the room is full. Obrigado. But let's see if we can do it. We're already inside the business forum in São Paulo. Everybody's here. It's a really important meeting.
Brasil y Bolivia tienen una relación física cóncava y convexa, lo cual genera una relación de que Bolivia más la Amazonía es imposible que se separe de su destino con Brasil.
Presidente Fabiano Mazzonaves de Bloomberg, ¿cómo usted va a hacer este aumento de producción y si es una meta de su gobierno disminuir la deforestación en Bolivia.
Nuevas medidas o reglamentaciones que estamos haciendo, queremos ser más competitivos, tener mayor capacidad y tecnología para producir de mejor manera. No de forma tan extensiva, sino concentrar esa capacidad. Pero a su vez con Brasil necesitamos ambas partes. Una capacidad productiva con tecnología de punta y una capacidad de preservar nuestros pulmones, que son al final nuestra viabilidad con dirección al futuro.
We're again hearing the land sparing narrative. This idea that intensifying existing farms will save the standing forests. But the relationship between Brazil's falling deforestation rates and Bolivia's rising ones remains unresolved.
O Brasil está incentivando esse aumento da infraestrutura viária e também investimento no agronegócio. Há o risco do Brasil exportar desmatamento para a Bolívia?
Não. O Brasil tem resolvido muito bem. O desmatamento brasileiro reduziu-se pela metade. O Brasil hoje é um modelo.
Presidente, mas a pergunta é, essa pressão do desmatamento que diminui no Brasil não pode ir para a Bolívia?
Não, eu acho que hoje a crise é mundial. Se você tem boas políticas de cooperação e atividades econômicas que a gente pode trabalhar sustentáveis, isso ajuda a ser rigoroso no enfrentamento de situações como essa de ampliar o desmatamento, sair do Brasil e passar para a Bolívia.
There's plenty of noise about the proposals, but I want to know what's actually confirmed and at what scale.
Em 3 semanas. Então eu estou muito positivo.
Listening to the discussions here, it's hard to reconcile the rhetoric with the reality on the ground. We've just come out of the final talk, and the scale of what Brazil has formally backed is confirmed. Roads and a river bridge connecting into Bolivia. It's much larger than anything previously suggested. Every time a road goes in, the forest comes out. That's not speculation. That's the pattern we've seen across the Amazon. It's a blueprint Brazil has refined over decades. What's being called infrastructure here, many will argue, is something else, a deforestation model exported. What began as an investigation into land sparing led us to reports of the planned INPA state acquisition, a deal that would not only cast doubt on Brazil's land sparing claim, but also reveals how Bolivia's Amazon is quietly changing hands.
Esse vídeo que nós vimos e olhando o que fizemos há 50 anos atrás no Brasil, no Mato Grosso, que possa ajudar. Porque nós fizemos no Brasil. Fizemos todo o regra. O presidente Rodrigo Paz está com sangue no olho para trabalhar. A Bolívia vem com a região nova, com tecnologia nova que tem que ajudar a fazer todo esse regramento para vender o produto para país de elite. Que construíram esse. Muito obrigado, pessoal.
Image declined to speak with Bloomberg News, but his brother Fernando agreed to speak with me.
Vocês adquiriram 30 mil hectares, né, da empresa INPA na região de Concepción, é isso?
Na Bolívia, só que essa parte faz os filhos nossos, minhas filhas, a roda da minha família, a roda da família do Eraí, que são sócios, já plantam no Brasil. Eles vão tentar novas fronteiras para lá.
E a ideia dos 30 mil hectares é plantar soja?
Cegar. Porque não tem condições de você chegar e botar lavoura, fica muito caro. E no futuro, quando lá na Bolívia, assim, você entra como ganadeiro, 5, 10, 15 anos, quando degrada, a área vai degradando, você entra, você reforma com milho, com soja.
Agora, ir para a Bolívia nesse momento?
Eu acho que é um momento que a Bolívia foi igual a gente chegou no Mato Grosso há 40 anos atrás, muito pobre realmente o lugar, precisa de emprego, precisa de dados. E a gente achou o lugar, até foi um grande desafio a gente lá. Fazer o que é o Mato Grosso hoje. Você deve ter andado no Mato Grosso, você sabe como é que é as cidades. Mato Grosso, como é na Bolívia, você deve ter visto lá. Então, acho que é a hora de a gente ajudar os irmãos.
Reshape, dos maiores produtores de soja do planeta, comprou terras na Bolívia e pode levar outros empresários de Mato Grosso a investir no país vizinho, além da soja.
So, yesterday we went to the Brazil-Bolivia Business Forum and Reshape, he was one of the speakers. It was the first time that they acknowledged that they bought lands in Bolivia. Basically, they want to do the same thing in Bolivia, what they did in Mato Grosso, which is expand agriculture as much as possible, and according to him, to generate wealth and improve Bolivia's situation. But at the same time, Mato Grosso is a largely deforested area in Brazil, and probably that's what's already happened in Bolivia too. It's the land-sparing story in front of our eyes.
Nueva ruta de integración, Brasil-Bolivia.
Following our investigation, the proposed road to San Ignacio was confirmed among other large-scale infrastructure projects. President passed a law which aimed to convert small farms into medium-sized ones.
Una medida que busca transformar, según el gobierno, el potencial productivo del país. La marcha de indígenas y campesinos.
Indigenous leaders and peasants argued it gave private businesses rights to seize their land.
Esto va a perjudicar a muchas comunidades.
The protests that followed forced him to reverse the law.
Firecrackers and tear gas filled the streets of the Bolivian capital, La Paz.
They were part of a larger rejection by some Bolivians of past business and economic policies, following a series of austerity measures. A recent Global Forest Watch report on forest loss confirmed our findings. Bolivia's Amazon is vanishing, as Brazil's is spared. Scientists around the world warned that continued deforestation could trigger an Amazon tipping point by the 2030s. Some fear humanity is already nearing the point of no return.